Welcome to this episode of the Customer-Centric Retailing Podcast. This is Anil Patel, founder and CEO of Hotworks Commerce. In this podcast, we discuss e-commerce, omnichannel technology, pre-order management, brick-and-mortar operations, retail culture, innovation, and how all these elements come together to create customer-centric retailing. Join us to hear the brightest minds in the retail industry share their experiences and thoughts on the most relevant topics today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Customer-Centric Retailing Podcast. Today, we have with us Natalia Jablonka. She's head of e-commerce at O'Neill. Welcome, Natalia. How are you doing today?
Hi, Anil. Thanks for having me on today's podcast. I'm very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy to have you on our podcast, and especially with all your, experience in e-commerce, which started as a lot of rich experience you have, and I'm really interested in having a conversation. So tell us about your journey in retail industry. There are a lot of people who talk about they started this by accident. I don't know how you, but tell us about your starting point and then your journey from your starting to where you are today.
Yes, so I would also almost say that it was a coincidence how I came into e-commerce and digital. So I think I started off during my business degree, business studies, to have this, I would say, dream to work in the fashion industry, which I was really lucky to make happen. So I actually did an internship first at Tommy Hilfiger in Amsterdam in the retail and outlet department. And from there on, there was a moment where the e-commerce department was moved from Germany to Amsterdam, and they were putting together a new team. And so I took the opportunity and basically started an entry position there. And this was around 2007. So quite some time ago now. From there I went into working for Ralph Lauren for 7 years. I went into the jewelry sector. So I was with Signet Jewelers, which you might know as well, in the US. But I was there in London for 3 years and then moved back to Amsterdam to work for Karl Lagerfeld, and then currently now at O'Neill. So really going from entry-level position in e-commerce, as in going then into an e-commerce buying role. And then I was more interested also in the performance marketing side and really the broader management of e-commerce, and then went into the head of e-commerce role.
Awesome. Yeah, in fact, I really like it. You started so early, and you started from like a ground up, creating a new team in e-commerce, and from there, which is amazing actually. So buying role in e-commerce, that is always an interesting. Back in the day, we used to have physical retail, brick and mortar retail used to have its own thing, and then e-commerce used to have their own thing. So they were in most companies, they were like two different departments that didn't talk to each other so much. So I don't know. Tell us about your experience in eCom. How was your experience as a buyer for e-commerce, and how did it impact the general company as a whole? Because the whole company has been big on brick and mortar and partners and B2B and all that, versus you working in the e-commerce. Tell us about your real life experiences about buying role there.
Well, I would agree that maybe in the past it was a little bit more working in silos. So I was really responsible. We had basically a whole buying team just for the e-commerce website, and then we also had buying teams, let's say for retail, which nowadays in many companies are, for example, called D2C buying teams. So in terms of my experience, what I can say is I think what we really always tried to have in both, or where we started to create alignment, is, for example, in key looks or in marketing campaigns, to make sure that the brand experience is consistent across the different channels. But other than that, it used to be quite separate. We would obviously look at what sells best on eCom. And that can be really different from retail stores. And it really depends on the positioning also of, for example, at Ralph Lauren, our own retail stores were very luxury positioned in the more on the luxurious side. Whereas on eCommerce, we would, for example, sell a lot of basic product. And this is something that I've seen across actually the different companies. Even the size curve is a little bit different to buy for eCommerce than for other stores, as we like to say the fringe sizes are more popular in eCom, where customers just prefer to shop online versus brick and mortar.
So does it have to do with also carrying a lot of inventory at the retail stores versus online? Because like in online, you have one big inventory location, whereas in retail, you have like an inventory distributed. And this is why the inventory in the stores is generally the ones that move fast, where for a small demographic, a small region of the geographical region, whereas with the eCom, you have a wider geographical location, or customers is much larger. And this is why you can afford to have those odd sizes or other sizes for your eCom catalog.
Yes, definitely. But I think there's definitely that. But I think also there's an aspect of customers feeling more comfortable, for example, in buying plus sizes online versus in stores. Mm-hmm. Also, especially depending on what kind of brand they're shopping at. But I think there's definitely both. Obviously, on eCommerce, you have the advantage of there's no space limitation apart from in your warehouse or the fulfillment center, whereas in the stores you have obviously only more limited capacity than for online.
Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, now that you're talking about like how the product catalog is getting organized, and like an online catalog is slightly different from the ones that you carry in the retail stores. So this also means that there is like, a lot of data analysis, buying patterns, customers' preferences, and all those we have to keep in mind, which brings us to the topic of personalization. So tell us about, how this whole personalization, getting customers' data and then analyzing it, and based on that, curating the catalog for them and making it available, how that helps. But then, then there is also customer have their concern, like, of like how you use this information. So let's first see how personalization data helps you in curating the catalog for the customer and delivering a personalized experience.
I would have to say to that actually we're not using, I would say, the personalization and customer data as much as I would like to. So, or the companies that I've, like, let's say, worked for, I think it is still very traditional in looking at, basically demand planning, what are the market trends, what kind of campaigns we are planning to run, rather than really using, I would say, personalized data. I think our personalization is more based on, what have customers viewed. We basically suggest customers product that fit their profile once it's already there and on the platform. But at this point, we're not yet really utilizing that data into the buying process, which I think is something that we will need to do in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting actually, because now that with eCom and then retail coming together, and we are able to collect so much data, about our customers and their buying patterns and how our inventory is moving. So combining that whole eCom data with the inventory availability and fulfillment tracking and all that data when put together into a good data analytics platform could give us a lot of insights actually, and those insights could be used for not only allocating inventory for various uh, locations like retail locations and then fulfillment locations, but also for buying what we need to be buying, and so that we are better prepared for the season or the fashion trends and all that. Definitely it's a lot of work, yes, because collecting all the data, it's easy to put these systems in place. Like you can always get ecom software or order management system or warehouse management system. Buying this software and getting them up and running is one, but then making sure that they are being used properly and then getting data out of those systems, integrating the data from various systems into one data platform, and then building analytics. That's a lot of work actually, and it keeps evolving because the kind of analysis you might have done 3 years ago may not work today, because customer patterns are changing, the way people see themselves behave, and their shopping patterns are changing. So yes, it is evolving, and from my conversations with many retailers, I see that we there's a lot of investments going on in technology, but at the same time, the utilization of that technology is not there yet. Everybody has like a lot of planned activities to be done, and but like you said, most of the leaders in the retail, they are not yet done with it, or they are, I would say, might sound a little hard, but like they are not yet happy with where they are today. They have long ways to go. So you what you said is you are not the first one in this saying that. And I've had many conversations with people in retail leadership who say the similar thing. And I think with the technology evolving and the all this new AI and all these things coming in, maybe it will help us adopt new technologies and um, give our customers better buying experience. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Definitely, I agree. And I mean, there's obviously quite, I think a lot of companies have a lot of data already, right? So but they also collect them separately. So maybe the customer behavior or customer or purchase data in brick and mortar. And for example, e-commerce is still very often stored in different systems in different places. So yeah, I think there's definitely a need on, first of all, like, investing in the right technologies and customer data platforms. And then to your point, second step, how do we actually use it effectively?
Yeah, because I've been working with retailers, and many of them they always ask for various kinds of reports, and sometimes when you want to help them to be more hands-on and give them analytics tools, still they think, no, give me a report as a Excel and I'll work on it. So there's technology adoption is a challenge, and I will not blame anyone. Even the phone I knew my phone, how to use all the features of phone when iPhone came in. But today, I'm not 100%. I don't use all the features in my phone. I know it can do a lot more. But adopting technology takes effort. So buying a technology is one thing. I buy a new iPhone almost every year, but I use it exactly the way I used to use my first iPhone. So there's not. So this is challenge, and we all humans have we have to deal with it. But customer data platform is definitely coming up, and it's important tool for retailers. So tell us about your idea of customer data platform CDPs, and how data analysis using the CDP could be helpful in delivering personalized experience.
Well, I do think it will be very helpful to get really the single view of customers. So really understanding, is there an overlap between e-commerce and brick and mortar, for example? Because as I said, currently in many companies, it's very still disconnected, but also a customer data platform can really help to sort of put customers in different buckets, let's say, to identify the stage of their life cycle. Basically, are they loyal already, or are they in the process of discovering your brand, or can you with small activities, can you actually drive them to conversion? So that's something that a customer platform can also really identify and help you then to address customers in those different buckets accordingly, whether it's an email campaign, or it's a retargeting campaign, or it's, for example, a voucher, or it's some sort of pop-up notification when customers are close to a store. That will also drive them, if they gave consent, of course, for this to get those type of notifications. They can then, for example, go into the store to discover the product and either buy it in store or have it ordered from the online platform.
Yeah, what you said, I think delivering seamless experience to our customers is a dream these days. We all want to deliver that seamless buying experience to our customer across eCom and brick and mortar sales channels. And like you mentioned, if my customer is buying online, and given that they have given consent to use the information to help them with their buying experience, then when they are in the store, the information we have based on their choices on eCom could be very helpful for the customer and the associates in the store to help the customer complete their buying process, which is very important. So tell me about, like, how those insights, how are you using these insights in store, uh, in the store when customer comes in? How do you see using that information and insights about customer so that you can deliver them a seamless buying experience from eCom to physical store, and from physical store to eCom?
Yes, I will have to say that this will be more of a, I would say, kind of like a theory from my side, because we're also still in the process of building that roadmap where I currently work. But I think in the ideal world, it would be the customer data platform that actually store associates also will have access to, whether through mobile devices or let's say their iPad. And if customers come in and they identify themselves, for example, with their email address, then also store associates would see their purchase history from, let's say, online or from brick and mortar. And they could then, basically assist the customer accordingly. So, for example, seeing, this customer is interested, let's say, in children's wear. Let's show them the newest collection, right? I think that's something that, I think that's where having this data and having also the store associates really trained on the technology would really help. Also, companies that offer click and collect in store, for example, or returns in store. So I worked for Karl Lagerfeld where we had all of these systems. Then also store associates can, actively suggest products that will fit with the product that customers just bought. So I think there's also really the aspect of training, I think, the store associates accordingly, but that's actually something you don't really have online unless you have a really good live chat that will help customers through that journey. But that's how I see this data being used in an ideal scenario.
Yeah, that's true. These days, I've been talking to many of the retailers, uh, and the conversation generally ends up talking about Shopify and how Shopify is helping them in delivering such experience, especially because Shopify has this online sales channel, plus they also have point of sale, all integrated into one system. So we've seen a lot of those retailers using Shopify for their eCom and POS, and that actually helps them bring together the customer information into one platform. Because training associates on technology, like you said, itself is a big task, because they've been using certain point of sale, and then you bring in a one workflow, and that could confuse, unless the associate has been really want to learn it. It takes a lot of effort, and then you could make mistakes, and there could be a lot of waste of time and all that. So it has to be done in a really very measured it has to be really measured process, like introduce only so much and then measure the success and then introduce one more little thing. So it's a big undertaking actually, to introduce those CDPs and then integrating your online and point of sale systems used in the store, and bringing in clienteling applications for your associates, getting them trained and all that. Click and collect definitely helps a lot, because I've seen retailers where they are happy because you can actually bring your online customer in the store, and then in the store customer can actually feel the product, and then they can make their choices. And in that process, we also know a lot about customers' buying experiences or choices in online, because now they are having a physical interaction. But then that also means that ecom has this challenge where you cannot touch and feel the product, the tactile experience. When customers are coming in the store, there is this whole real experience of checking out the product, feeling it, trying it out, like it or not, and be able to, if you don't like, you can try something else. And so that whole experience, and plus it's part of life also. Going to shopping is part of an activity that you do. So this is something I would say that we miss when it's digital only. So how are you thinking about digital experiences, and then integrating it with the physical store and all that, and how does that help with your delivering the customer experiences across your digital and in-store?
Well, I would say, just thinking about digital, I think it's so important to, really have good content, good imagery, good, also product videos. And of course, there's the, AI tools and virtual fitting rooms, and where you can really, basically, with your mobile phone, where you can also get, advice on the right size. So I think that's already very helpful, as well as product videos and campaign videos. But indeed, you cannot fully replicate that experience in store. So I think it's a little bit, I think that in that case, it's online and retail stores are sort of like, I would say, driving business for one another, because typically online, you have a much wider assortment than in stores. So you might go into a store and then for the first time actually try on a product, and which is your correct size. But then you might, based on that, you might shop or repurchase online a different color or a different season, but knowing actually which size is yours. So I think online it's so important to have the content, videos, descriptions, And yeah, I think that the USP will always be the bigger assortment versus stores. But it's really really hard to replicate that experience. So actually, the in-store experience in stores really being kind of also the showroom, the point where you can touch and feel the product, where you can speak to a store associate that knows about the product is always also going to be necessary, right? To drive online sales.
Yeah, that's true. Like, store as a media is a topic by itself. And like you mentioned, it's really important that customer can touch and feel and figure out and make sure they know what exact size or of the product fits them right. Once they know what they want and which size fits, like you said, with the right kind of content, customer can much easily, much with in their own convenient time, at their own convenient location, home or office or in cafe, wherever, they can continue their buying journey. And generally, repeat sales would be much easier from digital channels. So this is like, this brings me to an important question that I have asked almost all my guests, is that when you open up a store in in certain region, or when you have there is a store in certain region, how does it impact your online sales? Like, do you see physical stores in any region helping sales, digital sales, or e-com sales from that region? What kind of patterns have you seen?
Yeah, so I think it was still very difficult to measure, or sometimes also not necessarily the focus to measure. But what we're also doing at O'Neill, for example, is to drive signups through stores. So when customers purchase something in store, or when they are in store, they're being encouraged to sign up to our email database. So they can scan a QR code, and then they're being linked to a site where they can sign up. They get a voucher, 10% voucher, to either redeem in store or also online. So that's something that's, actively obviously is helping and to drive online sales. But it's still, it's I would say, growing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So like, all these, like, your various marketing activities and the physical store working in together with online retail, how are you measuring the performance of your website, or how are you measuring, what kind of key KPIs do you measure to see if your digital sales are performing the way you like it to be? Because like, it's always hard when you have both physical retailing and online within the same region.
I mean, at the moment, we're still looking at it slightly separately, right? So e-commerce is e-commerce, and then retail is retail. So, the main KPIs that we look at is demand sales, net sales, versus the target, the growth target that we have and the targets. But also we obviously need to get the traffic, and we need to get the customers in. So traffic, conversion, average order value, to really get to that demand sales and the net sales number. Returns is actually quite a big KPI and also a big topic for us to look at, how can we reduce that return rate, because it is quite hefty, especially in the fashion industry. So I would say those are the main KPIs that we look at.
So like, do you have like a program where customer can buy online but then go return in the store?
Not yet at O'Neill. We've had it at Karl Lagerfeld, where I was before. Yeah.
Yeah, because generally we've seen that when customer can go back in the store and return the item, generally they would go buy something else, because many cases it's the size or it's the color or something like that. They really intend to buy the item, but it's just that the product didn't fit right. And so the stores generally help in reducing return in those situations.
I do think definitely, I think it can also really help with conversion. So as mentioned, like when it comes to O'Neill, we're still working on that roadmap, how we can improve the omnichannel experience. But I think that in a lot of markets, it still gives customers a little bit more flexibility, and also a little bit a sense of security to go into the store and be able to return, especially if the store is in their proximity. I think it's really helping to improve the customer experience, the seamless experience, and also to drive that next purchase.
Yeah, that's true. Now that now with I want to talk to you about inventory planning, especially because I'm interested because you have so much experience in buying side of it. So, tell us about how you think of inventory planning, and how does that e-com inventory planning, does it relate to any, and does it have anything to do with the physical retail in that region? Or tell us about like how you think about preparing for inventory, getting stocks up in right so that you are ready to hit your sales targets.
So, well, I think I mentioned it before, and I have seen this trend in different various companies that basically for online, a lot of companies have chosen to offer the entire available assortment, which I think is a really great idea, because again, there's not the space limitations, and also when we also really compete nowadays even with other channels, right? Like marketplaces for our own eCom website. So I think it's a great USP to say we have the biggest assortment that you can find. You can see the entire range from the particular brand. So the factors that are really key, is obviously the demand forecast, is the marketing campaigns that that are being planned. Market trends are super important, and I think what can be quite interesting to get learnings from retail stores are on basically on regional bestsellers that then could potentially be more important in the inventory planning for online as well.
Yeah, I like what you said, like regional bestsellers. Definitely, because people, there are always local conditions, local culture, situations impacting people's decisions. So it's important to be aware of local bestsellers for sure. Also, there's something we've seen these days is pre-orders. Like people have been engaging in, retailers offer pre-ordering certain items, and this is used both for definitely for helping customers buy items ahead of time so that they can get it delivered immediately when the item is in stock. But at the same time, retailers also use it to gauge the demand for the product. What is your take on pre-orders, and do you see opportunity there?
I do see opportunity there. I think mainly for luxury brands, so where the manufacturing cost is high, and where you don't really want to end up with too much overstock. For example, from my experience at Ralph Lauren, what was really great is to offer customers, when they see the runway show, to then already place pre-orders of that product, because the buying and the manufacturing process was only after. So there was about a 6 month time before the inventory would hit, or even a year before the inventory would hit the warehouse. So I think, especially for luxury product, it makes a lot of sense. But also from a customer point of view, if you want to create that loyalty and VIP customer experience, giving customers the opportunity to be the first to order or to buy a product, even though a select group of customers, I think would give a very big added value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely makes sense, and I like the luxury item for sure, because when inventory is expensive, you don't want to sit on it for too long. So it's always a good idea to gauge the market, at the same time take pre-orders and plan the manufacturing and ordering accordingly. At the same time, having that VIP customer treatment, that helps a lot, because now they are getting their customers are getting their product just first. They are like first person to put on those pair of shoes or a jacket or whatever, and be on the out there, and they love that exclusiveness. So for sure, the pre-order system helps with that. Yes. Now, let's talk a little bit about Shopify ecosystem. I know these days in eCom, people are loving Shopify as a eCom technology. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and what is your experience, and what do you think people could be doing with it, like because Shopify is doing great on digital, and then they're also having POS. So tell us about your take on it.
So we are currently also on the Shopify platform, and actually I've had a very positive experience. I also worked with Salesforce before and other platforms. And I think Shopify is, a platform that caters to small businesses, but also really scalable. And it's very user friendly, and also quite, easy to, add apps and remove apps that will improve the shopping experience. So yeah, I would say quite, from my experience, quite positive. Also, it's relatively easy we're currently working also on launching a new market. So it does support, multi-currency, multi-languages in several markets. So, and also quite, so in terms of the customer experience, really mobile first, themes and can provide that experience to, which is optimized for mobile, which is super important, because around 80% of your traffic will be on a mobile device. So very positive experience on my end.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I've had conversation with, people in leadership roles in retail, and they have similar experience. People also talk that with Shopify, they were able to get operating cost much down a lot as compared to many other systems. It's just because of its simplicity and pretty much ready to go, right? It's like is a platform that is, you just upload your products and content and all that, and it's ready to go kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, we do quite a lot of A/B testing and optimization of the website experience, and that's quite, Shopify is very, let's say, user friendly in that aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. This is awesome. Cool. Well, launching a retail on digital, especially for the companies who are doing it for the first time, is a challenging task. You have a lot of experience. Like I said, you started in 2007 and worked on a team that was just starting to build the eCom business for a company. So, towards the end, I really want to get your advice or key takeaways for people in the digital commerce and working for retailers who are just getting started with the digital. Tell us about, what are the actionable guidelines? Give us some actionable guidance on what this person in a role responsible for launching digital channel and making it successful, what could they do from your real, trenches? Tell us about hardcore, the knowledge that we need.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's so important for every company to be very clear on their goals and what they want to achieve with launching an e-commerce business. So some companies are still, debating between, is it more of a brand experience or do we really want to sell product? I think that's the first question. Also, what markets do we want to enter? I think that's super, super important. And then, really be clear about what is your vision and what is the USP of the platform and your product. I think once that is clear, then every company should look at how much do we want to have in-house, how much do we want to outsource, or do we want to have most of the talent within the company, or do we maybe first work with agencies to support who really have the knowledge and the skills. And then I think, really look at who could be your customer and who is your audience. And I think for that, social channels are really good to really find that customer and find that audience, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I think that's where I would start. And then also make sure that you have all the other digital channels in place, such as email, SEO, for your e-commerce channels, for your e-commerce website to be found easily.
Yeah, awesome. Really good. What you said. It's important that, the team knows exactly if you want to outsource or you want to build in-house, because it takes time to build in-house. Nothing wrong with it, but then you have to pace yourself accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. I had experience with both, where maybe the teams were bigger in-house and we really had, the luxury to actually have big teams and the talent. But I do think also there's something about, as I say, working with agencies who, can really support, and they're really expert in their field. So I think that's a really good way to start.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and then having this whole social digital channels, all these social like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all that. They are a big part these days. All these micro influencer network is a big thing these days. So keeping all them in mind is important. So there's a lot actually to be thinking about. So having a good idea of like exactly which market, like you said, which market you are going and which segment. A lot of those things have to be clear, because unless you are focused, it's hard to get work done and measure the success. So that's what you said is really important. Yeah, cool. Natalia, thank you very much. It was really good conversation, and I'm sure our audience is going to love it. And there's like a real tangible takeaways for them. So I really appreciate you giving us your time, and I'm sure people are going to love it. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Anil.
That's it for this episode of the Customer Centric Retailing Podcast. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast. Please rate and review and recommend to a friend or a fellow retail fanatic. This podcast is presented by Hotworks Commerce.